Tonight, on the eastern edge of Europe, the ground is shaking, not from an earthquake, but from the relentless movement of tens of thousands of troops and columns of military hardware. Engines rumble through the night, headlights slicing through the darkness as armored vehicles roll steadily forward. The air is thick with tension, and the earth itself seems to tremble beneath the weight of this mobilization. This is Zapad-2025, Russia's massive and meticulously planned military exercise, now unfolding across Belarus and western Russia, just miles from the borders of NATO member states. The scale is staggering: columns of tanks, artillery, and thousands of soldiers, all moving with precision and purpose. These war games are held every 4 years, but this time the atmosphere is colder, the rhetoric sharper, and the stakes higher than ever before. The chill in the air is not just from the weather, but from the uncertainty and suspicion that hangs over the region. The world is watching closely, with journalists, analysts, and leaders glued to live feeds and satellite images. What happens here could shape the future of international security for years or even decades to come. Russian tanks roll through the open fields of Belarus, while fighter jets roar overhead near the borders of Poland and Lithuania. For the people living here, this is not just a distant headline or a news story, it's a tense and unsettling reality unfolding right outside their windows. Moscow insists these exercises are purely defensive, a routine test of readiness. But NATO views them with deep suspicion, seeing a potential dress rehearsal for a much larger conflict. The diplomatic language is careful, but the underlying mistrust is unmistakable. In our interconnected world, instability here can ripple outward, shaking global markets, prompting emergency meetings among world leaders, and raising fears of a wider confrontation. Zapad is more than just military maneuvers, it's a powerful political message, a test of alliances, and a direct challenge to the existing world order. Every movement, every maneuver, is scrutinized for hidden meaning. The proximity to NATO territory forces both sides into a dangerous dance of military posturing, where a single misstep could have catastrophic consequences. With so many forces on high alert, a single miscalculation, a misunderstood signal, or an accidental encounter could escalate into something far more serious, potentially igniting a crisis that no one truly wants. To truly understand Zapad 2025, we must look beyond the official statements and press releases. We need to examine the deep-seated fears, the evolving military strategies, and the long, complex history that all converge in this moment. This is about more than just military power. It's about geography, influence, and the fragile peace that has defined Europe for generations. As the drums of war echo across the continent, the world holds its breath, hoping that peace will prevail. What are the Zapad 2025 exercises? Zapad means west in Russian, hinting at its focus, simulating conflict with NATO. Up to 200,000 personnel from Russia and Belarus are involved, spanning from the Arctic to Ukraine's borders. Advanced tanks, missile systems, and fighter jets are on display, alongside cyber and electronic warfare units. The drills include amphibious landings and rapid multi-domain operations, showcasing Russia's modernized, coordinated military. The scenario: a coalition invades Belarus, prompting a Russian-Belarusian counteroffensive. The drills occur alarmingly close to Poland, Lithuania, and Latvia, NATO members who see this as a threat, not defense. Heavy use of drones and cyber warfare highlights Russia's 21st century doctrine: create chaos and paralysis early in conflict. The message is clear: Russia is ready for modern war. For NATO's eastern members, Zapad 2025 is a source of deep anxiety, not routine. Poland, Lithuania, and Latvia see these drills as a thinly veiled threat, recalling their history with Russian power. Recent airspace violations and drone incidents have heightened mistrust and risk of miscalculation. The Belarus-Poland border crisis lingers, fueling fears of hybrid tactics or manufactured incidents as pretexts for escalation. The line between drill and real operation is razor thin. NATO has responded by increasing its military presence and air policing in the region. Enhanced forward presence battle groups are on higher alert, and more jets patrol the skies. NATO's message: we are here, watching, and ready to defend every inch. It's a modern Cold War standoff, familiar but more unpredictable. To truly grasp NATO's growing concern, take a close look at the map. Focus on the Suwalki Gap, a slender corridor that serves as the only land bridge connecting the Baltic states to the rest of NATO through Poland. This narrow strip, just about 65 kilometers wide, is far more than a line on a map. It's a strategic lifeline for Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. On one side of this gap lies the heavily militarized Russian exclave of Kaliningrad, bristling with troops and advanced weaponry. On the other side is Belarus, a close Russian ally, whose border with Poland forms the eastern edge of the corridor. If Russia were to seize control of this gap, the consequences would be immediate and severe. The Baltic states would be physically cut off from the rest of NATO, leaving them isolated, vulnerable, and potentially unable to receive reinforcements or supplies in a crisis. This is why the Zapad-2025 military drills are so alarming. They're taking place right at this flashpoint, with scenarios that involve the rapid deployment of armored and airborne troops, simulating a real-world attempt to seize the corridor. While Russia claims these exercises are purely defensive and routine, in reality, they offer invaluable practice for capturing and holding this critical terrain, rehearsing maneuvers that could one day be used in an actual conflict. NATO's military planners see Russia honing the exact skills and capabilities needed for their worst-case scenario, an attempt to sever the Baltics from the alliance. This year, the integration between Russian and Belarusian forces has reached unprecedented levels. They're now operating under a unified command structure, sharing intelligence and coordinating every move as if they were a single army. The alliance between Moscow and Minsk has evolved from political rhetoric into a concrete military reality, sealed by new agreements and joint operations. These exercises make the prospect of closing the Suwalki Gap seem not just plausible, but increasingly likely, turning a theoretical scenario into a tangible threat. For NATO, this is more than just a drill. It's a wake-up call, forcing the alliance to rethink its strategies and readiness in the region. The threat is no longer abstract or distant, it's being practiced on the ground in real time, making the danger immediate and undeniable. Russia frames Zapad-2025 as a defensive routine exercise on its own and its allies' territory. Moscow blames NATO's eastward expansion and missile sites for provoking these drills, calling Western concern hysteria. Russian media claims transparency, but Western officials say the real scale is hidden. For Russia's public, the message is strength and sovereignty. NATO, however, points to Russia's record Georgia in 2008, Crimea in 2014, and Zapad drills preceding real operations. The alliance accuses Russia of underreporting troop numbers to avoid international scrutiny. For NATO, the lack of transparency signals preparation for options, not just defense. Trust is shattered, suspicion rules. This year, for the first time, U.S. military observers are present at Zapad, invited by Belarus, not Moscow. Their access is limited, but it's a rare chance to gather first-hand intelligence and assess Russian-Belarusian integration. Their presence also opens a direct line of communication, crucial for de-escalating incidents. For Belarus, inviting Americans is a diplomatic move, signaling to Moscow that it has options and asserting some independence. Still, Russia remains firmly in control of the exercises. The U.S. observers will see only what hosts allow, but their presence is a new wrinkle in tense relations. It's a small opening in an otherwise confrontational relationship. Even in high tension, communication is vital. The observers' final report will likely confirm the drill's offensive nature and high coordination, but their presence alone is a sign that dialogue, however limited, is still possible. Sending U.S. observers to the Zapad military exercises is part of a cautious yet strategic diplomatic shift toward Belarus. This move signifies a nuanced approach, aiming to balance engagement with vigilance. After years of frozen relations and economic sanctions, the U.S. and Belarus took a significant step by exchanging ambassadors in 2020. This marked a new chapter, seeking engagement over isolation and opening doors for potential collaboration. While the U.S. continues to criticize Belarus's human rights record, it simultaneously aims to open channels for dialogue and military contact. This dual approach reflects a desire to influence change while maintaining diplomatic ties. Observing the Zapad exercises fits into this broader strategy, offering valuable insights into the Russia-Belarus alliance. It also provides potential pathways to ease regional tensions and foster stability. Meanwhile, U.S.-Russia relations remain at a post-Cold War low, with the Zapad exercises perceived as another act of aggression. This adds layers of complexity to the already strained ties. The Pentagon views these drills as a direct challenge to NATO and a test of U.S. resolve. The exercises are seen as a demonstration of military might and strategic posturing. The diplomatic triangle is intricate and multifaceted. The US tries to re-engage Belarus, Belarus seeks breathing room from Russia, and Russia uses Zapad to cement control and send a powerful message. Zapad-2025 serves as the stage for this three-way geopolitical drama, where each nation plays its part in a high-stakes game. Each side maneuvers for strategic advantage, but trust remains scarce. The diplomatic dance is delicate, with each move carefully calculated. The stakes are undeniably high, and the outcome remains uncertain. The world watches closely as these nations navigate a complex web of diplomacy and military strategy. This is diplomacy under pressure, where every decision could tip the balance of power and influence in Eastern Europe. Zapad 2025 will heighten tensions, prompting NATO to bolster defenses and fueling a cycle of action and reaction. The drills cement Russia-Belarus military integration, making Belarus an extension of Russia's front line. For NATO, this changes the defense calculus for Poland and the Baltics, no more buffer state. Ironically, Russia's show of force may unify NATO, giving frontline states leverage for more support. The future depends on whether dialogue and new arms control agreements can be revived. Old treaties are failing. Without new rules, suspicion will deepen. Diplomats face the challenge of rebuilding trust in a poisoned environment. The stakes, peace, or perpetual confrontation in Europe. As Zapad 2025 ends, the military might returns to base, but the geopolitical tremors remain. These drills prove that large-scale war in Europe is still a real, terrifying possibility. The risks, accidental escalation, and the normalization of massive military buildups on the border. A conflict here would have global consequences: humanitarian, economic, and potentially nuclear. Europe's peace is fragile and must be actively maintained. Zapad 2025 is a stress test for the institutions meant to preserve that peace. The future depends on choices made by leaders and citizens alike. Understanding what's at stake is the first step toward demanding a safer future.